Buenos días a todos. Todavía no hablo español. But pronto, oh, thank you. Pero pronto lo haré. Thank you. Thank you all for coming to this talk on emotional intelligence. First things first, I'm a bit nervous, and this is normal when you're a speaker, okay? So even if I appear confident, please hold space for me, because it's difficult to do this, but we enjoy doing it anyway, okay? All right, my name is Crystal Mbanefo, and I'm going to give you a talk, and we're going to do a little workshop as well on emotional intelligence, okay? I know the space is not yet adapted for it, but we'll do our best, all right? Okay. Here we go. A little thank you to our sponsors, without whom I wouldn't be here. So let's have a look at them. Yay! Okay. So this is how we're going to start off this session. Okay, a little introduction, myself. We're going to define emotional intelligence, and then we'll do some deep dive exercises together. And then I'll show you an implementation example of emotional intelligence in our workplace. Okay. I'll have a proposed practice at the end if we have time, and then I'll encourage you to give me feedback on this. Okay? Mm-hmm. All right. Awesome. Okay. So I'd just like you to, I know this is going to be a bit, but we're going to try. We're going to try. If you could take a Post-it and pass it around. For those of you who already have Post-its, this is, there we go. Good thing. I'm just going to go in the middle. There we go. See if we have enough Post-its. And I just want you to write out how you think this session will be useful for you. Okay? You just take and pass it around. I'm not sure we'll have enough Post-its, but yeah, okay. Yeah, okay.
What do we need to write?
So and how you think this session will be useful. How would you know if this session was useful for you? Yeah? How would you know? What's the outcome that you'd like to get of this session? Okay. If you haven't written anything, that's fine. That's okay too. Before I go in, I just want to ask a few questions. How many of you feel in your workplace that you can openly be vulnerable with your managers? How many of you feel like you can, yeah? Oh, quite a few. Okay, that's amazing. How many of you feel you can say, oh, I failed at this today with your managers and it's okay? Wow, I want to know your workplaces. That is amazing. Okay, awesome. So here we go. My name is Crystal. As I said earlier, this is what my work CV looks like. I started off as a software engineer in France, and 10 years later, I moved on to become an emotional skills and support coach at Makers Academy. Looks like a very nice CV, you know, doesn't show any weaknesses or anything. My life CV, however, is completely different to that, okay? I'm a natural smiler, as some of you have noticed. But I went through a phase of depression, frustration, sadness, and anger. These things that when we write on our CVs, people tend to look the other way, right? Because they're not so good. Seriously, I was a perfectionist. I had to have my whole life planned out, and it had to work according to plan. And that didn't work as I expected, okay? And all that journey brought me to where I am today, and that's why I want to share this with you, okay? Awesome. Before we go in, I'd like to set a stage of mutual learning between us, okay? The first thing to note is that in the traditional school system, primary school, secondary school, university, people talk at us, okay? And the thing is, you're not engaging your brain as much as you should. Only 20% of the information is being retained, okay? In this way we're going to do today, we're going to go into the self-empowered learning, where you actually get to participate in it and bring your ideas, and that way you retain a lot more information, okay? Awesome. Another thing is mutual learning. I am not an expert in this, okay? I believe that we all are experts, we all have experience, and we should bring that experience with us and learn from each other, okay? Another thing that's really important is creating a safe space. We leave judgments out the door, okay? All emotions, all thoughts, all actions are welcomed here, all right? And the last thing is trusting ourselves. We are resourceful and we are creative and we can find solutions. Okay? All right, awesome. So, defining emotional intelligence. There are so many definitions out there. This is the one that actually stuck with me from Daniel Goleman, from the book he wrote on emotional intelligence. And it is the skill of choosing to use your thoughts and emotions responsibly and productively for yourself and for those around you. Okay? The reason I've underlined skill is because many people think, oh, you know, she's empathic. It's just natural for her, okay? No, it's actually a skill that you can practice. It's not something that, some people might have it naturally, but it's a skill we can learn to grow, okay? Mm-hmm. And the reason I've gone for choosing is because it's a deliberate choice you make. It's not something, it's not an impulse, okay? We tend to react on impulse. When somebody sends us an angry email, we feel like, yeah, gonna get them back. Yeah, I'm ready. But here we take a step back and we make a deliberate choice to act responsibly. Okay, so this is what it means. Okay. Here are the 5 domains of emotional intelligence. Okay, the first one is self-awareness, creating awareness of your thoughts, of your emotions, understanding your values, your identity, why things trigger you and why certain things do not. This is a really important skill to have. People say, oh, I don't know why I lashed out. I just don't understand. When you become more self-aware, you're able to see your actions before you take them out, okay, on someone else. The next thing is self-regulation. It's your ability to choose what actions you take now that you're aware of how you behave, now that you're aware of your values, okay? Things like that are really important, okay? To bring an example of self-regulation, when I worked in my last workplace, there was a girl who used to annoy me so much. And for me, she was sucking up to the bosses, yeah? And I couldn't understand on the life of me why it was annoying me, you know? Until I did an exercise called the values exercise. And one of my top 3 values was leadership. Okay? And the fact that the reason it was annoying me was because she was trying to become a leader and it was triggering my intention to be a leader, yeah? But if you're not aware of that, you just act on your impulse. Why is she getting special treatment? I don't like her anymore, yeah? So it's understanding that as well, okay? Empathy is empathy for yourself, kindness to yourself, but also stepping into other people's shoes and trying to understand the world from their perspective, okay? Just to give you a bit of context, I currently work as an emotional skills coach for apprentices, so people who are trying to become software developers, okay? And one of my apprentices is in a job now, and his manager said, you're too slow, you're not catching up with the others, and it's causing my apprentice a lot of stress, okay? Now the thing is, the boss might be right, he is slower, but with a bit of empathy, you can try and step in his shoes and understand why he's slower. How can we help him? Rather than using the tactic of fear, okay, to rule that. Okay, does that make sense? Yeah? Okay, awesome. Then we have motivation. Motivation is a really big one for me because in everywhere I've worked before in the tech industry, motivation is usually driven by fear. We have to reach a deadline, right? We have to do this project within this time, and then everybody's stressed, okay? But in this part of emotional intelligence, I'm talking about motivation from the self. If the person feels motivated themselves to stay in the workplace, okay? And you as a manager feel motivated to work with your team, how do you get them to work with you, okay? In a place where it's not coming from fear, but rather trust, actually, okay? It's really important. And I will show you how that works in our company, okay? And then social skills. Social skills mean different things to different people, but here I'm talking about the skill of working in a team, okay? The skill of communicating ideas, the skill of being heard and being listened to. This is one of the biggest things I've seen when working with apprentices. The ones who are better developers have the louder voices, and the other ones feel like they're not listened to or can't express themselves, okay? So it's these social skills that are really important as well. All right. So this is your first deep dive exercise, okay? We're gonna get out a sheet of paper. So I'm going to show you here. So I'm balancing a microphone and this in my hand. So I'm gonna give you some papers right now. And I just want you to put yourselves into groups of 4. So for example, the 4 people that are here would be in a group, okay? And just in the rows you're in, you'd be in a group. And then you'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 columns, okay? In the first column, we're gonna look at empathy and motivation, just those 2, okay? And then you're going to write in the headings these tabs here, okay? And then you're going to kind of brainstorm together how these 2 affect or have an impact on the 5 headings there, okay? Yeah? Yes.
Is it okay if we do 4s like this?
Yeah.
It'd be easier to hear each other.
Okay, yeah, okay, thank you for that suggestion. Yeah. Any other questions? No? Okay, so let me give you the paper and then we'll start, all right? So just thinking of the impact empathy and motivation have on those 5 areas, okay? Thank you so much. I've got a lot of questions on how to evaluate this, so let me give an example. Would that be okay? Yeah? Okay. So for example, in empathy, if I work in a team, let's say I'm a manager, and I work in a team where there's little empathy, like for example, the team members don't feel that they can come to me and say anything, okay? They can't be vulnerable. What does that do to the motivation of the team? Anybody know? Yeah?
From the point of view of the manager?
So that's the first example, yeah? There's another example where we're just in a team as team members, but there's no empathy between us. So for example, I've coded a functionality and somebody else is struggling and I'm like, you're on your own, dude, okay? What does that do to the motivation in the team as well? What does that do to the trust in the team, especially if you have to build a project together? What does that do to it? Yeah.
And do you want us to answer whether or not the motivation goes up or down?
Yeah.
Or dive in the reasons?
Yeah. Does it go up and down? Yeah. And what happens in the team? How do they feel working? Okay. Okay. Yeah. Anything else? Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you. I know some of you haven't finished yet, but I'm glad you still had a chance to talk about it. Okay. Did anything stand out for anyone from there? Anything at all? Yes?
We were just talking now that I think we were starting to realize, I'm not sure if it's the actual focus of the exercise, we realize that empathy is much more important than motivation.
Yeah, it is actually. Yeah. It's actually one of the strongest motivators, but in society we are taught that no, it's not really a good skill. We have to go for performance and productivity. And why did you turn up late when we all started at 9:30? Yeah? And we just keep constantly criticizing the team members or constantly receiving criticism from other people. And it seems to motivate in a way, but empathy is a much stronger tool for motivation. Yeah.
I would say also that I think part of what we're realizing is that having empathy helps create that psychological safety.
Yes.
That then affects everything else.
Yes.
Because if you have mistakes or whatever, like if you don't have that, people tend to hide it, or right. And also when it comes to just putting your ideas out or all these things, like if you don't have that, then all of the other stuff suffers.
Yes.
Right? And there's a big factor in empathy in that, right?
Yes, totally. Psychological safety is really, really important to create motivation and to enhance it as well. When I feel safe and I feel like I can be myself, then I want to do even more for the company. Okay? So at Makers, people say, oh, how is it that your manager can go on Slack? Everybody uses Slack, yeah? Can go on, sorry, I'm just checking. How is it that your manager can go on Slack and say, oh, I'm not feeling well today, I'll come in at 11, or that your CEO can say, oh, I went through a depression last year, and thank you everyone at Makers for supporting me. How can they do things like that? It's because when they're being vulnerable and creating a space of psychological safety, it encourages others to be themselves, okay, and feel that they can be creative and just open with each other, yeah? Does that make sense? Yes, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, one of the things that we identified is that there's a really strong relationship between empathy and trust.
Yes.
That you will trust people who empathise with you.
Yes.
And you won't trust people that you don't empathise with.
Yes.
So if you can't understand why people are doing what they do, then you're much less likely to trust them.
Yes, that is true. Yeah, empathy and trust are very linked together. Okay, so the 5 dysfunctions, if anybody's read the 5 dysfunctions of a team, yeah, the very first one is the lack of trust. Okay, and if you don't have empathy, it's really hard to get that trust. Okay, so being empathic towards other people in your team can really create that bond as well. Okay, anything else? No? All right, so now we're going to put on our business hats, okay? Our leadership hats. And on the back of your paper, I just want you to, I made a mistake here, but don't worry. You're going to draw a similar diagram, and you're going to have empathy and motivation in the left columns. And on the right, I just want you to write the cost to the company as a whole, okay? So we imagine that we are leaders of a business. What is the cost of having a lack of empathy to the business as a whole? Okay? What is the cost of having a lack of motivation to the business as a whole? What is the cost to the reputation of the business? Okay? Let's think about that. Okay? Thank you. Thank you. Was there anything that stood out to anyone in the costs of empathy? Cost of lack of empathy to the business?
I have an opinion.
Yeah.
I think that the team, the
Yeah.
people is the most important thing in the company.
Okay.
I think that a team is a group of people not only that work together, but that trust each other, respect each other.
Yes.
I think that without trust,
Yeah.
as she pointed out very well, without empathy there's no trust.
Yeah.
So I would say without empathy there's no team,
Yes.
and without team there's no company.
Exactly. Yeah. Bravo. Totally. And then you see people leaving the company. They don't want to stay anymore. They want a place where they're respected and listened to. And it just happens over and over and over again. Okay? So it's looking at this fundamental skill that people call soft skills, you know, as if they're not important. Oh, soft skills, you know. And it's trying to actually make those fundamental skills in our workplace that can help save a business. Okay? Okay? What of motivation? Lack of motivation. That's a pretty obvious one. Yeah?
As me putting the business owner hat,
Yes.
it's much easier to think about the lack of motivation
Yes.
than the lack of empathy.
Okay, yeah, yeah. And what did you find in lack of motivation?
So we would say diminished productivity, diminished commitment, increasing churn in people rotation.
Okay.
That leads to losing the knowledge about the domain, company, etc. Lack of being proud about working in a
Yes.
company, like group belonging to a group.
Yes, yeah.
And there was something that I didn't finish writing, so.
Yeah, you said something very important, the lack of being proud. As a business owner today in 2019, something that is really important to them is the company culture, yeah? The reputation of the company. A lot of people want to join a company like Makers. We get loads of CVs, and they say, "Oh, I heard your company culture is great," you know. And this is really important when you're doing a business in these times. Okay, previously it was just get a job. Any job is fine. Okay, and now it's like, oh, let's see if they have a spa in the company, or let's see, you know. So all these things contributing to your employees' well-being is really important as well. Okay, awesome. All right. So here I'm going to, I think it's there. I'm going to show you an example of how we implement this at Makers where I work, okay? Before I start this, thank you. Thank you. And thank you all for participating in that exercise. Yeah. I know it can feel a bit like, peace and love in the world and all that. It can feel a bit. But like I said, society doesn't encourage us to go with our emotions. Yeah. They keep saying, leave that at the door and come to work. Yeah. But what I'm trying to do is to change the way we see things. And I want us to bring our whole selves to work and be proud of it. Yeah. And we're going to start somewhere. Okay. All right. So this is an implementation example. The first thing I want to say is I am not promoting makers at all. This is just because I've been there for 10 months and I have seen how things work. And I want to share it with you just so you have an idea and can probably implement it in your own companies if the position allows you to. Okay, awesome. What's the second thing I wanted to say? I've forgotten, but it will come to me. Yes? Please.
Are you talking about the makers movement? Makers Academy?
Oh, Makers Academy, that's my company where I work, yeah. So I've worked with them for 10 months and I kind of saw how these emotional intelligence skills were implemented and I wanted to share it with you. Okay, all right. An interesting observation I've made is the implementation and even the skills are really simple, okay? It's basic stuff, but very difficult to implement, yeah? Making the difference between simple and easy is really important in this scenario, okay? All right. All right, the first one is we're going to start with motivation, okay? In the normal world, motivation works with you having a manager and a team member, and then we're sort of like this, okay? If you don't do what the manager asks, then you're in trouble, or, it's kind of a hierarchical view. At Makers, we have a collaborative view of leadership, okay? I'll give you an example. When I started working at Makers, my manager asked me, what does good management look like to you, okay? How would I be a good manager to you? He didn't say you have to do this and do that by this time, okay? And I said, a good manager to me is someone who just allows me to be and to do my job. And as long as the job is done, then that's totally fine. I don't want to be micromanaged. He said, is that all? I said, yes. And he said, okay, that's our working relationship. Yeah? There's not many companies where you can do that. So does anybody work like that with their managers at the moment? Yeah, there's not many. Yeah. Okay, so it's trying to have this collaborative way of working rather than I'm your boss and this is what you should be doing. Okay? That's how we implement it. Okay? The other thing is contributions versus blame. Most of the time when we give feedback, it's you didn't do this on time and I'm angry with you and make sure it doesn't happen again. Okay? For us, it's more like how did I as a manager contribute to this problem? Okay? How did you contribute to it and how can we work together? Is there anything I could have helped you with that could have empowered you to do it better? Okay, it's a totally different way of seeing things and of talking to people, yeah? And it empowers them to say, okay, I made a mistake here. Maybe I would have liked you as a manager to tell me this. Can you tell me this next time, just so I know how to do it, okay? It's not blaming someone, it's both of you contributing to a solution, okay? Feedback is one of the hardest skills to learn. I've gone to many places and it's just really hard. I've even listened to a podcast where a very famous speaker said, the next time your employee does something wrong, does something right, tell them, no matter where you are, at the coffee shop, just say, oh, you did a really nice job yesterday, well done. And if they do something bad, tell them in the same way. Oh, you did a really bad job yesterday. I don't like that, don't do it again. I can't believe this, and people were applauding. And I said, but what if that person has been through a hard time? What if their wife left them in the morning? Like, there are so many things going on. We are such complex humans, okay? And somebody talked about creating a space of psychological safety. It is really important if you want to get the best out of your team, okay? Providing a space where they can be vulnerable. Anybody watched Brené Brown's YouTube talk on vulnerability? Yeah? Yeah, it's the essence of creativity. And yet, every single time we tell people, oh, don't be vulnerable, just be perfect at work. Yeah, that's all I want. Okay? Yeah? Okay, awesome. Any questions on that? Because that was an important one. Okay. Okay. The next one is empathy. Okay? So I've talked about vulnerability, accepting and showing vulnerability. In the beginning, I said, how many of you can actually go to your managers and say, hey, I'm not feeling my best today, or this is going on for me? And a lot of you raised your hands, and I was very happy to see that, okay? Being in a company where you're able to show vulnerability is really, really important, okay? The first way it struck me at Makers was when I arrived and I got the message from our CEO on Mental Health Day where he was talking about his depression and how the staff at Makers were able to support him through it. I'd never seen that done before. Okay, CEOs are the people in suits and ties, and they're always talking business, and it's so amazing how perfect they are. And he was able to bring his vulnerability into the company. What does that do to the employees who are looking at that? Yeah.
It gives them the confidence to do the same.
Yes, it gives them the confidence to do the same. It gives them the confidence that this person is actually human, and that's all right. So I can be human at work. Okay, and it makes you want to be proud of this company. Makers didn't send me to do this presentation, actually. This is just of my own being. But what I've seen, I want to give to other people because I'm really proud of it. Okay, awesome. Empathic listening is on the same level. So really listening to somebody's side of a story without trying to bring your own side of the story to it. Okay, that's really important as well. Giving them the space to just express themselves. Okay. 10 minutes left. Oh no, have to be quicker. No stress, Crystal. Okay. Social skills. Okay. So these we recruit for in our hiring process. Already before somebody joins our company, we recruit for skills of empathy, emotional intelligence. This is a skill that's going to be recruited for in 2020. The World Economic Forum did a survey on that, and it's the 6th most important skill. Okay, we recruit for excitement around education because we're an education company. But the mere fact that we ask questions about empathy, how would you deal with a student who is struggling? How would you be with them? Is a really important question to ask a coach. Okay, so we're not just looking for the technical coaches, we're looking for the ability to be empathic with our students. Okay, awesome. Self-regulation and self-awareness. We do this through meditation. It's kind of your space to be human. Okay, we have meditation every day. Nobody's forced to do it. Yeah, we're not a cult. Okay, you just do it. It's not a cult. You do it if you feel like doing it. But we do have people present in the building like me who teach meditation. Okay, awesome. It's kind of the space to be yourself, to learn the art of sitting with yourself. Because in society, we're like, go to the gym, go to work, take care of the kids, make sure you do this and that. But actually, just the art of sitting with yourself is one of the most important and powerful skills you can ever, ever, ever have in the workplace. Trust me on that one. Okay? All right. So here I do a flashback on the 5 skills. Even if you don't, you can't implement the first 3 because you're not the head of your organization and you're not in a position to make changes. The last 2 are really important, just for your own sanity, for your own well-being, for your own contentment in life. Okay? It took me a while to understand that, but I will go a bit deeper. I know we have only 10 minutes, but I'll try and be fast. Okay? So what are they? Self-awareness is your space to be human, as I said, bringing all of you, okay, the negative and positive to that space, okay? And self-regulation is your ability to choose your response rather than reacting to your response. So when you are aware of yourself, you're able to better regulate your actions, okay? How do you practice them? Through meditation. That's the first and basic thing, okay? Anybody done meditation before? Okay, a few people. All right, awesome. Okay. The brain state before and after meditation. So I tried to get a shot from the internet, but I know you can't read it. But the first part kind of shows the theta waves. So this one here, okay? So kind of like the unbalanced brain waves, because we create a lot of thoughts in the day, about 50,000 thoughts in a day, okay? So we have unbalanced brainwaves running around, and meditation actually helps you, after a few minutes, kind of harmonize the left and right hemispheres of your brain, okay? It also helps shrink the amygdala, which is the part that's concerned with the fight or flight response, so that you stop doing that impulse thing, but you also have a bit of calm to take a responsible action, Okay, so knowing this is really important. Sorry, I can't dive into it right now. But yes, please, if you have any questions after, just let me know. Okay, all right. So something really important to know is meditation is not sleep, even though sleep is an after effect of meditation for some people, because we've never been taught to sit down and just relax, okay? Meditation is actually a conscious act, a conscious awareness of your thoughts and emotions, and while you're being aware of them, not engaging with them, not following them, rather following your breath, okay? It is a very tricky skill to acquire, definitely, but it is possible. You know, like a baby walks, a baby has to crawl first before walking. It is exactly the same, okay? Awesome. So I wanted to do a proposed practice of meditation, a guided meditation with you, but that's going to be impossible. I can see him shaking his head already. So I will leave that out for now, okay? And here are some of the resources that I learned from. Like I said, when you want to learn something, it's important that you go and look for the information and you trust your ability to find this information. No speaker on earth is an expert in anything, okay? You are the experts, all right? This is just a guide to help you continue on that path if you're interested, okay? The Economics of Emotion, I found this book. I was going to Lisbon and someone was reading this on the plane and I bought it. I cannot believe how essential this book is. Somebody who worked at Apple and was talking about the way he received feedback and it was horrible and it really killed his spirit, okay? And from then on, they went on to understand how to give and receive feedback. It's really, really important, okay? The second one is Daniel Goldman, where I got the 5 Foundations of Emotional Intelligence. I would highly recommend that one as well because he even talks about how it affects our children. He talks about the Columbine situation where a kid goes in and shoots all the other kids in the school, you know, and they all say, oh, you know, he just had mental issues. You know, that's good, that's all right. But nobody goes to understand what awareness, what problems that child was facing, and it's really important. When we start with our kids, this skill can grow with them, okay? Awesome. The third one is Man's Search for Meaning. Anybody know Viktor Frankl? Yes? Yeah, anybody read this book? Yeah. Wow, this book is probably one of the most powerful. Did you feel that as well? It is really intense, okay? A man takes his experience from the Holocaust, and rather than criticizing everything that went badly in the Holocaust, he takes an objective view of what happened, of how people can be horrible and express love at the same time, yeah? And he goes on to create logotherapy, which is one of the branches of psychology today, okay? And it's a really important book if you want to learn more about self-awareness and how to regulate yourselves in a situation that is so intense. Like literally, everybody knows about the Holocaust, so intense. And he was able to survive through that and express another side of it, okay? Awesome. And the last one is the science of meditation, because before when I was a techie, I didn't want to hear about meditation. I just thought that is not logic. Like someone telling you to breathe in and out is not logic. You're doing it already, right? But when you actually read the science about it, you actually solidify what you know already. And when you practice it, it makes it even easier to go, oh, wow. So that's what they were talking about. Okay, so I really encourage you to read on that. All right? Awesome. All right, now this is the part of feedback. If you notice in the beginning, I asked you to write on your Post-its how you think the session would be useful for you, okay? On the back of that Post-it, I just want you to write any feedback you have for me. And I don't want just positive feedback. Oh my gosh, this was awesome, you know? I love that. Yes, that's true. But I want you to give me uplifting feedback as well. If there's anything you notice that you feel, oh, this could have been different, or I would have gotten more out of this if this was done, just write that down at the back of your Post-it, okay? And when you finish writing your Post-its, just stick them on the wall, any wall next to you, and just stick them up there, okay? I'll give you 2 minutes to write that, if that's okay. I'm sorry, I know, I wish we had more time, yeah? Just 2 minutes. Yeah. So while you're writing, I just really wanted to thank you all. Thank you so much for your attention today. I wanted to thank also Dana Svoboda, who is actually the second emotional intelligence coach at Makers, who's been here for 6 years, and she managed to teach me most of what I know today. And to my dear Prakash, who is somebody who helped me. He was my first counselor when I got out of my depression, and without him, I wouldn't be here today. So I'm really grateful. Thank you all. Thank you.